My engineering design project is newspaper towers. My rationale for this was that my students would be able to act like civil engineers and design buildings that will be able to withstand wind. Students will be thinking about architecture and shapes of buildings, and they'll be able to make real life connections to engineers, and the way that the constraints that they are given is similar to the constraints that engineers have to deal with. Students are going to work to be able to build stable towers, but also incorporate height. They will also then be tested to see if they can withstand wind or the air that students are going to blow on them, and to see whose tower is the tallest. They will be able to try out different designs and make modifications, and this is making connections to how real skyscrapers are constructed and built, and be able to research different techniques to have their building withstand wind. So the problem is that they're faced with is creating a tower from newspaper, focusing on constructing it both for height and stability, and it will look to withstand wind. The students will be able to modify it, and the constraints that they were given are only 3 pieces of newspaper, 12 inches of tape, and then they're able to use scissors. They will also have a time constraint of 20 minutes. After testing, they will be able to make modifications, and they will be working in groups of 3. A few potential solutions I thought about were to roll the entire piece of newspaper as tightly as I could to optimize the height. And then I thought about creating a base from that as well. Another idea I thought about was using the sense of triangles in architecture, because that is something I've learned about in the past. And then I would just roll the paper to create a middle part of the tower. And the last concept the last idea I had was to create a base that not only is strong but also contributes to the height factor. The concepts that go along with this are how wind interacts with buildings, and then another concept is the techniques that go into creating buildings and the shapes that they are. So this was the plan for my tower 1. I wanted to create a tower that was tall enough, and the roll was the tallest thing that I could think of. So I created the plan, and then the model is on the right, where I folded these these rolls in half and secured them with tape, and then I was able to connect those at the base. And this is the wind test. And as you can see, it does not fall, but you can see that it is moving. Even though the base is secure, it is not as being able to withstand wind. So here's tower 2. Like I said, I talked about thinking of using triangles and even placed it under a chair to create the crease. And from here it's a lot more sturdy, but again, this middle area is not as tall as I would like it to be. And here's the wind test for that. And as you can see, it does not move at all, but it is not optimal for the height. Here is tower 3. So here I tried to incorporate both the base, so it was a standing base rather than flat on the ground, and I secured this underneath it to create a more aerodynamic, as well as allowing the wind to go through this area as well as the base. And as you can see, it is not moving at all. So for my improvements, the first tower did, like I said, withstand wind, but you could see that it was moving. So the base was not as stable as I would like, as well as the middle area was not able to withstand the wind. So I created a more secure base for my second one, but again, it was not as tall as I would like. So then for the last one, I created a secure base that also added to the height and allowed for air to go through the design. Um, so as I'm reflecting, I'm also connecting it to the aspects of STEM and that the students were able to be real engineers and create their own prototype. They're able to incorporate technology through looking at other techniques and even maybe designing possible things online would be a great way to incorporate this with students. Also, there's a math connection here with students using mathematical units to measure, as well as an extension activity is having the students plot the heights of all the towers. This was an activity for geared towards the older grades, so there's not many modifications needed to change it for them because they know the engineering design practice, or they're more familiar and able to create these types of buildings. And this is something I actually did in my own education, which I thought was cool and definitely something I'll incorporate with my students. But as for the younger grades, there's definitely more differentiation that's going to need to take place, a lot more support and direction, but I still don't want to just answer the questions for them. So rather, I would have it where we define the problem and we discuss solutions and create them together. And all students will be able to share their ideas and make a final decision on the changes that we would make. But I would not just tell the students answers. Rather, I would even go through and we would do it together and show the trial and error in the classroom. And that's the references.